say that I have always also learned through the years by coming to this conference. As always, I'm very, very grateful to Lola for inviting us, for inviting our students from Glendon, for allowing us to be here as guests and as speakers through the years, and also for bringing together this, for creating this for translators and interpreters for all languages here in Toronto, which is so needed and so important. So thank you, Lola, as always. I'm going to start by asking a question, which is why study translation? I have been pondering this question for many years. Some of you may have pondered it, and if you haven't as much, then this is an invitation to think with me, to reflect with me on the question of learning. I'm going to read because otherwise I'll go on talking and talking. So the first, I've divided my question into a series of questions. The first one I would like to ask is, who would be interested in asking this question? Why study translation? When Lola invited me to participate in this year's conference, initially I was going to share with you some of my recent research, which is what I've done in the past, but then I thought I wanted to choose a topic that I consider critical for us translators today, which is translator education. Lola told me about the audience, or reminded me about the audience, as she probably thought that this topic might not be relevant for practicing experienced translators and interpreters, such as yourselves. However, as someone who trains translators and who has been practicing translation for decades, I think education is relevant for translators at all stages of our professional career. Or is it not? I look forward to your comments and questions and additions to my remarks at the end of the presentation. In his introduction to an edited volume entitled Teaching Translation, which came out in 2017, Lawrence Venuti characterized the landscape of translation teaching and training today, almost half a century since the field of translation studies was termed as such for the first time. He describes how, I quote, in multilingual and bilingual cultures, translator training has long been a necessity insofar as translation is a fact of life, end quote. And he notes that the number of translation programs keeps growing as, given the economic and political complexities of our contemporary realities of displacement, conflict, natural and human disasters, and given and the constant and increasing movement of mass populations, there continues to be and will continue to be an urgent need for translators and interpreters, Venuti points out. So if this is in fact the case, and we believe his diagnosis, we shall continue to educate. The second question I pose to you is, when studying translation, what is there to learn? There's no finished set of contents that can be memorized or skills acquired so as to consider the process of learning translation thoroughly completed. Like learning languages, learning translation is an ongoing process that benefits from structured learning experiences, but which also exceeds the bounds of any structured setting. Translation is a highly complex intellectual practice that requires skills, education, and intelligence. If we were to parse out some of the skills involved in learning to be a translator, we would identify some, such as excellent analytical reading, research, and writing skills, general world and subject-specific knowledge, documentation and terminology research and management skills, project management and business practices, and technology. And technology could, including general technology, general use technology and translation-specific technology, among others. This is not meant as a comprehensive list, it's meant as an initial list, let's put it that way. There are also skills that are specific to the translation process per se, such as identification of text types, semantic analysis, error analysis and correction, learning and knowing how to make stylistic shifts, peer revision and self-revision, the protocols and the etiquette of that too, for peer revision, and command of subject-specific literature, media, and formats. Translation competence involves a variety of areas. Dorothy Kelly identifies specific ones such as linguistic, cultural, instrumental, subject area, and interpersonal competence. So-called soft skills are central to professional translation performance. Some of these involve the ability to work well with others, to interact professionally with clients and peers, to communicate well with clarity and courtesy, to be self-directed and take initiative, to observe, read, and understand situations and adapt to them and find solutions, to show leadership while being able to work collaboratively, to be self-critical, responsible, and rigorous, and to have integrity and ethics. What does it mean to view translation as a socially situated practice, in addition to this set of skills and competences? Translation is a social practice, as we all know, and as it has been historically, and it continues to be. We translators occupy an important position and play a critical role in our societies. Although this is an aspect that is rarely emphasized in translation training, when it focuses entirely on skill building, we face the fact that translation is a social condition on a daily basis, as we encounter situations that make us respond in ways that go beyond the strictly professional and specialized. And I would say that we encounter these on a regular basis. Often, relationships with clients, marketplace patterns, areas of social need that demand our response, and ethical dilemmas can be better understood if we view what we do as part of larger context of intercultural communication and human interaction and mediation. So how do we learn to get this larger view of our role within society? Just some ideas. Interdisciplinary perspectives, as much as lived experience and exposure to different environments, will help sharpen our context-specific literacies, our ability to adapt and contribute meaningfully to our environments, and our sense of place as translators in society. Where is translation learned? If we understand translation as this larger picture that involves skills and competence building, but also this sense of place in society and cultural and social literacies. Translation can be learned in a variety of places. The more structured training that I referred to earlier on, and I base this again on Dorothy Kelly's list, occurs in institutional settings, mainly universities. Training is also offered by associations and other professional bodies, by companies and organizations offering professional development to their staff, and this is called industry training, and by academic associations and other institutions. Beyond these, there are a great many ways in which translation is in fact learned on the job. For example, through mentoring and empirically, that is through trial and error and very hard work and lots of practice. As far as learning spaces for translators are concerned, besides the one I mentioned, every place can potentially become a space for learning for translators. And I think that Marco's presentation gave us an excellent topic on which you would learn a very limited amount in the classroom, unless you take Markov class, but in any case, how do you get that kind of knowledge of the world to understand how to face taboos and how to respond to language, such as profane language. So, spaces of learning for translators, classrooms, bookstores, subject-specific lectures, movie theaters, translation conferences, an automotive company, courts and hospitals, and also virtual spaces, such as translation forum, coffee shops, language meetups, and of course, the workplace. Each of these has something to contribute. A specific type of learning takes place in each. Now I'm going to think about a little bit, or to invite you to think with me, about what exactly is the place of the university within this larger context of constant learning that takes place when we are translators. So what is the kind of translation learning that can happen at the university? Translation learning at the university tends to occur within a context of a larger vision of education. If we talk specifically of the context of the liberal arts, translation is taught within a framework that's focused on a broader, comprehensive general knowledge aimed to develop students' general intellectual education and potential. This vision frames translation education. It's a larger framework within which is then structured within a translation-specific curriculum. So this translation-specific curriculum is within that larger understanding of broader general knowledge and intellectual growth. This curriculum is designed then to meet focused learning objectives. In this sense, within the university, translation is learned taking into consideration important aspects of professional training, but it is also articulated within these broader parameters of knowledge building and production. Some of the advantages of this context are the fact that skill building is informed and enriched by the institution's ability to offer education in other areas, such as specific disciplines and fields, and to foster critical analytical ability, research skills, and understanding of specific social and human environments. Another advantage is the focus on a curricular vision that is developed according to degree level objectives, instead of being compartmentalized. This context can adapt to new conditions while offering a structure for pedagogical rigor and an ongoing reflection on teaching and learning methods. In Canada, in particular, the university context benefits from having a long-standing teaching and scholarly tradition, from the institutional support that has long existed for translation and translator training, and from the cultural and linguistic diversity of this country. And in our case of Toronto, the university is enriched by this enormous diversity. Moreover, the university is a suitable space to generate reflective practice. This is important given that, as Mona Baker and Carol Mayer underscore in a volume on ethics and the curriculum, translators are accountable and ethically responsible, I quote, not only to their clients, but also to the wider community to which they belong. And this requires a classroom to be configured as an open space for reflection and experimentation for translation students to recognize and embrace their responsibility and their impact on society. One additional feature, I would say, for a comprehensive university curriculum, is the fact that students are able to have access to a variety of teaching and learning styles and can learn from all. The emphasis placed on pedagogy leads students to develop an awareness of their own learning, of our own learning. That is, we not only acquire knowledge or skills, but we reflect on how we learn. Having gained this awareness, I think, is a gift we can carry as we move forward in our career, which kind of transforms, evolves, and becomes a tool in different ways as we learn, as we gain experience. But it's also one that we can transfer to many other areas of our lives. Now, to my last question, when does one's process of translation learning end? Good. We're getting to that conclusion. That's excellent. Translation is an open-ended process, and so are translation teaching and learning. While it is desirable to acquire a variety of skills and be exposed to various forms of knowledge, and that can be done in a structured teaching and learning context, such as the university, the learning process is by no means finished with the completion of a program of study or any kind of formal training. Opportunities and events, such as those organized by Lola and by key professional leaders, such as Lola Bendana, are crucial for a continuing process of professional development, as can be seen by the complexity of the task and the range of abilities, skills, and forms of knowledge involved in performing this ever-evolving social practice. Translation learning is a lifelong process. Thank you.